darn sure you are in the correct directory for the spellbook, let's create ourselves a new Git repository. Who has never used Git before? Okay. Have you used version control of any kind? Okay. We'll talk more about it either tomorrow or the next day about how it all works. For right now, just follow these steps exactly. You do have it installed, and you have a GitHub account, right? Okay. Were you saying something?
But does everyone know what PWD is? Did you go over that yet?
No. Print working directory, that tells you where you are. So yeah, double check you're in the right place. Yeah, I didn't do that. If you're sure you're in the right place, because we don't want to create a Git repository in our home directory, bad things eventually happen. You add way too many files. So we want to initialize a Git repository, so we type git init. And that is git, of course. Initialize empty Git repository in that path /.git. Now on Unix type machines, including Mac, putting a dot in front of a file name will make that a hidden folder. Now that won't happen on Windows, but I'm going to go ahead and open that thing so I can look at it real quick. So open space .git, that would be start.git on Windows. I'm going to have a look at what we have here. So it looks like there's several things here. This is an empty Git repository. It still has files in it, but they're hidden away in that .git folder. So if you're ever curious where Git puts everything, it puts it in a hidden folder called .git inside your project directory. So that's where all previous versions, all previous revisions live. That's where your history lives, all that stuff. It's all inside there. So now we have an empty repository. How about we make it a less empty repository? If we type git status right now, we'll see no commits yet, and we see some untracked files. We want to track those files. So we will type git add. Git add space dot. In other words, add all the files in the current directory. Git add dot. Once we do that, and we type git status, then we see no commits yet, changes to be committed, and we have 3 files. So now if I type git commit, these are the files that will be committed. So let's type git commit space -m, and then we will put a message. That's M for message. Always put in a commit message and make it a good one. We'll talk about what makes a good commit message. For right now, we'll make this initial commit inside double quotes. Hit enter, and hopefully you see something like this. Anybody get anything different? Now if we do a git status, we'll see nothing to commit, working tree clean. So now we have a Git repository. Go us. But this repository lives entirely on your laptop. So let's put it out there in that funny old cloud, shall we? So go to GitHub. Hit the little plus up here and say new repository. Repository name. I like the name Spellbook because then if you create it called that, when I go looking for yours, I know just what to look at. So it's helpful if you name it the thing. So Spellbook, you don't need to change any of these other properties. Just say create repository, and then you'll get a bunch of instructions. Quick setup if you've done this kind of thing before. I need to point this out. I had you all set up an SSH key, but the Wi-Fi network here blocks all SSH traffic, so we have to use that HTTPS. So sorry you went through all that trouble for now, nothing. But SSH is cool and you should use it someday. But for right now, go ahead and click HTTPS, and that'll change all the commands below. And you won't ever have to do that again. It'll just be HTTPS from now on. I'm going to change mine to SSH, but leave yours as HTTPS. And you see, you can create a new repository on the command line, but we already did that. Or push an existing repository from the command line. That's what I'm going to do. You see 2 commands here, git remote add origin, and then the URL to this repository. That means, hey, I want to set up a remote thing that I'm going to sync with, and this is it. This is the repository. The next command, git push -u origin master, says push my repository as it is on my machine to origin, because that's what I named my remote. Get remote at origin. And I want the master branch on there. -u says I want to use this or this remote and this branch from now on. So next time I can just say git push. So we'll copy these two commands. Go ahead and use the button so you don't actually accidentally select the wrong thing. That's easier than you might think. Paste those two commands in. And you should see something like this. If you get some error message that has ref spec in it, that means you failed to commit something. It'll ask you for your username, yep, since you're not using your SSH key. And once it all works, you should be able to refresh this page in the browser and actually see your repository with those 3 files. No, I already created the afternoon branch. So this is, I always do this. I do it somewhere else first, and then I move it. But I already did it.
Okay.
So it's already, you don't see it? What?
Spellbook?
Hang on. Okay. I didn't.
Figure that out later, but
Was there a branch called Spellbook? Is that what you said? No. Just master. There we go. It's there now.
it is now.
Yep.
Okay, sweet. Thank you.
So by the way, when you look at mine, generally speaking, it'll be in that GitHub organization you saw earlier. XTBC 18S2. And when you look at the repository, the stuff for the afternoon will be in an afternoon branch. So where you see master, just switch to afternoon, and you'll see it the way we did it in class. Now, I cheated. I added a second commit. With today's homework. Yes, friends. You know you're excited.